So you have started building a new project, or you are just curious of what mistakes you shouldn't do when you're starting to build a new project, right? So I will walk you through all these mistakes which I've gathered in the past few months, that what mistakes you shouldn't do when you are building or working on a project, or when you're starting one, because I've built over 30 plus MVPs for a company. So I've got some real experience. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, of why I am talking about this stuff, right? So who am I? I am an AI engineer for an AI health tech startup, building MVPs, prototypes, prompt engineering, prompt evaluations, like system prompts or base prompts. Then simulating production environments to reduce the feature development time, which is like quite a lot with actual engineers, because they have to, keep everything tight to at least 60 to 70% less time consumed with the actual developer time. So I've got some real experience working for an actual company as a vibe coder turned AI engineering, building products, right? So let's talk about the first mistake. The first mistake is that you should know what you're building. You have an idea, you should know what does it do, who is it for, and what does the done look like, which is very important. Done means that what's your MVP? And MVP is minimum viable product, right? Minimum viable product. It could be a one feature or 2 to 3 features. That's it. Which has a landing page, which has an authentication if you want one, or just anything on local host, but a working idea with a working backend and a working front end and a working database. That's all. Nothing else, right? So basically, we have an idea, but we don't know what we are building. And once we have started building something, we tend to have ideas, more ideas. Like, I should also create this dashboard, or I should also create this card system, or I should also create this navigation menu or navigation bar, or I should also create these two separate pages. You shouldn't do that, because you won't have a complete MVP in next 3 months if you keep adding on features. So when you have an idea, go to ChatGPT or go to Claude or go to Manus or any of the LLM you are currently using, and just do some of the research for a talk, maybe for 2 to 3 hours, and finalize your MVP. And you don't have to talk to 2 to 3 hours to ChatGPT, but you have to have a proper documentation of what is the starting point. How many pages are you creating? Are you creating 3 pages? Are you creating 5 pages? What those pages are? What's the backend looks like? And you have to tell ChatGPT that you are not creating the code. You have to create the high level architecture of that project, because sometimes Claude and ChatGPT spits out code. You don't want that, because we will be actually using OpenAI's Codex to write the code, or Claude's Claude code to write the code. So we want them to only plan for us. Don't do any coding, right? Because some of the developers, or sorry, some of the vibe coders don't know, and they usually copy the code from ChatGPT and then paste the code, and then when an error arises, then they copy the error and then they go back to ChatGPT, and then they're going back and forth and don't know what these tools can do. Because I've been building production level prototypes and MVPs. So I will tell you all, but this is the first mistake that you shouldn't do. You should have a proper documentation of your MVP, what you're building, right? So let's go to the next one, which is choosing your tech stack. So choosing your tech stack initially as a foundation is very important, because you can't change your tech stack in the middle of a project, right? You can change the tech stack, but it will become more of a hassle for you to change some of the frameworks, and it will be easier for you to just completely start from scratch. So don't worry about that's the first point, that don't worry about the tech stack if you are building on Lovable, V0, Figma, Make, any of the AI builders which are online, because it doesn't matter. You just have a basic idea, and you just want to know if AI coding can create something, and you are not creating something meaningful, and you are just testing the waters of what it can be, because on these tools, building a production level MVP is very expensive. You will spend a lot of tokens, probably hundreds of dollars or maybe thousands of dollars, which is not actually the case when you're building locally on your system through Cloud Code or Codex or Open Code or any other software. So if you're building on any of these AI builders online, you don't have to worry about the tech stack, because they usually build on React and then Tailwind, and some of the companies use ShadCN, or some of the builders don't. But if you're building locally, my easiest recommendation for building good UI is Tailwind and ShadCN, and I will show you what those are. But Tailwind is a CSS framework, and ShadCN is just like ready-made code which you can use to create like beautiful dashboards and sign up pages and all the blogs as well. Sorry about the throat, but what I am currently using as my MVP stack for building my own, some of the SaaS projects which I am working on, is TanStack Start, Tailwind, ShadCN, and Convex as a database. And I have forgot to mention that if you want to have authentication, you should use Clerk. Clerk is for authentication and Stripe billing as well. I have a Stripe account, but I am using Clerk because it's easier to set up Stripe with Clerk. Then I am using Convex for both database and backend. ShadCN is for UI, Tailwind is for writing CSS, and TanStack Start is a React framework, right? So choosing your tech stack is really important, because you have an idea and you don't know which tech stack you are building on, right? So this is like really important. Okay, let's go to mistake number 3, which is trying to build everything on one prompt, because this is the biggest mistake. Most of these YouTube videos will tell you, that I've written 3 lines of, text that create me a beautiful landing page for this and that. It will create you a landing page, but it's not useful. So please build one thing or one feature at a time, get it working, test it locally, then move to the next one. And remember to keep pushing the code. I will talk about this in the next mistake, but this was a major issue when I was learning everything and when I was working on multiple features at the same time. These AI models are trying to get better. Some of these models, 5.3, GPT 5.3 Codex is good. 5.4 is really good, not for UI, but Opus 4.6 is good as well. But still, they have a limited context window, and they don't know what you were building in the previous chat, because you have multiple chats. So it's better to have multiple agents work on multiple features separately. You can have different work trees as well. That's a separate story. But when you're starting out, it's better to build one feature at a time and then move to the next one. Understood? Okay. So the mistake number 4 is never reading the code. That was the case with me as well, because I am not an actual coder. When I was starting out, I'm not right now as well. But I've learned Python as well, and I've learned front end technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript back in 2017, 18. So I knew what was happening, but if you don't know what is happening, that's okay. You can write the code, but you should know what is happening. What's the backend files? What's the front end files? And if you don't know what's happening, you can just say like, explain this code like I am a 10-year-old or I am a beginner on what is happening. Because like I told you, I've been doing prompt evaluations and all of the prompt engineering as well. I didn't knew when I was starting out. I had to ask these questions that what is happening? What is a strand agent in AWS? What is a strand agent and what is a step function is in AWS. So I've written some of the step functions as well to test the code, but you have to keep learning what's happening. If you don't know and you just want to say, hey, please fix this for me. Can you fix this? It is not working. That won't take you far. I'm sorry. But that's reality of coding with AI. You have to learn. So now mistake number 5 is not saving your progress. This is another thing you have to learn if you don't know about Git, which is a version control system, or GitHub. As some of you might have heard about it, some of you might already know, or some are pro in it. But you have even sometimes I keep working on some of the features for 6 hours or a day or two, and I don't push the code. But still, with that is not the right practice. You have to have always a working version before implementing a new feature. That's the baseline. You have to have a working production version before implementing a new feature, and every new feature should have its own branch. This is very important because this is like a basic rule of working in a development company, in a development environment, that you have to create a new branch for every feature. For example, let's say if I am working on a reporting dashboard and I want to implement an AI feature that gives me a summary of what happened last week, right? I will create a new branch which says reporting dashboard AI feature, right? And then I will only push the code into that branch, and until or unless that is until that is completed, I won't work on any of the other branches, because locally, if you're working on one branch, you can only work on one branch. And if you are like really good at it, you can work on work trees as well. But if you're starting out, you will have only one branch. So it's better to work on one feature so you can track everything on GitHub as well, right? You have to learn how Git works, period. That's non-negotiable if you're working as a builder, or as a SaaS builder, or if you're working on an MVP. I just made this cool diagram of if you're working on features, feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, feature 4, you have to have two working branches on GitHub. One could be dev branch or development branch, or a staging branch as well. Because I had development branch, then staging branch, and then working, the master branch. But you can have just one and then main branch as well. Okay. So what happens with the staging branch is staging branch is the exact clone of working, main or master branch. And when you push a feature, you push it to staging branch or a dev branch. And then you test that feature on dev branch, and then you push that feature to the master branch. And you keep on repeating this, that you push the feature 2 into staging branch, you test it out on staging, and then you push that change to a master branch. You can learn about Git as well. You have to. Then let's go on to mistake number 6. So that is really important. that you don't have to reprompt, you have to do the debugging itself. What do I mean by that? So instead of saying that's not working, can you please fix it? You have to give context to like what is not working, or you know what can the AI fix, right? So on Cursor, there's a really cool feature which is debug mode, right? Let me check if I have Cursor. Okay, Cursor. If you can see, Cursor have agent, plan mode, debug, and ask. Uh, these different options are really good and are not on Claude or Codex, but agent, what agent does is actually execute your commands. Plan is plan your features. Debug is actually debugging your code, and until it is fixed, and it works like a charm, very good. And ask mode is that you just ask questions about your database, your code base, not your database. You can ask questions about your database as well. So another important thing is that you are working on a browser. You can go to console and then copy the errors and then just paste those errors, because sometimes Next.js will give you errors. What is causing an error? Your terminal will give you an error, but sometimes both of them are not giving an error, and the errors are on console. So you can just copy those errors, copy all those errors, and then just paste those errors in the chat and ask what is causing and what is the possible fix for it. You can change the wording, but you have to ask, and ask the AI to analyze the code base, what's causing the error and what are the possible fixes for it. And just don't say that please fix it for me, please. So let's do recap, right? I think this is probably a 20-minute video or more, but still, it's a good start. And when you're starting out, you should have a clarity. Finalize your MVP in documentation first. You don't have to write code. You have to have your MVP in Google Sheet, written by ChatGPT, Claude, or any of the local LLM models on Olama, LM Studio, whatever LLM you are using. Even if you are not using any LLM, LLM is a large language model which you can chat with. So if you just have an idea, you have to have a Google Doc on which you are saving or planning everything, right? Then you have to build one feature at a time. Either you are implementing authentication or building the backend or building the front end, one feature at a time, right? Then you have to read the code. What's happening? If something messes up, you have to know what caused it, so that in future you should know how to debug that code, right? Then you have to save your progress every time, and your GitHub map will look like all green if you are building daily, almost. But you have to save your progress, and then you have to debug, and don't reprompt, fix it for me, right? I think that is a starting point for us to start something meaningful, if you want to start something meaningful. And I hope that this video was helpful, because when I was starting out, I didn't know any of it. And if someone would have told me that you should have a document first before building, or you should have a proper tech stack of what technologies you are choosing, or how you should read code from AI, how you should debug code from AI, and you should keep pushing the code to GitHub, my life would have been very easy. But still, I've learned a lot. That's why I'm able to speak in front of you about all of this. But if you find this helpful, send this video to a fellow builder, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.